Welcome to the Explainer. So, let me ask you something. When you feel a cold coming on, where's the first place you look? Probably the bathroom cabinet, right? Well, today, we're digging into a source that suggests maybe we should be looking in our kitchen pantry instead. We're going to explore this idea of a kitchen medicine cabinet, breaking down exactly what that means, some of the specific remedies, and the whole philosophy behind it.
All right, to really set the stage for this, the source material kicks things off with a pretty shocking statistic. Get this. Back in 1969, the state of Tennessee was ranked the fourth healthiest in the entire U.S. Fast forward just 40 years to 2009, and it had completely flipped, dropping all the way down to become the fourth unhealthiest. That is a massive change in a relatively short amount of time.
So that huge drop in health rankings really begs the question, right? What on earth happened in those 40 years? According to the source we're looking at, the answer lies in our diet and lifestyle. It makes the case that the solution isn't necessarily about finding some new futuristic cure, but maybe looking backwards, back to our own kitchens. And that's where this core idea comes in, the kitchen medicine cabinet. It sounds simple, but it's actually a pretty profound shift in thinking. We're talking about completely changing where we turn for our primary health support.
So what is it exactly? Well, the speaker in the source video defines it as a whole new way of looking at your kitchen. It's not just a place to cook dinner anymore. Instead, you start to see it as your main resource for wellness, stocked with everyday ingredients that can actually help you with common health problems.
Okay, so what's actually in this so-called kitchen medicine cabinet? Let's get into the specifics. First up, the source talks about internal remedies, stuff you can take the moment you feel that little tickle in your throat, that feeling that you might be getting sick.
One of the first big ones highlighted is oil of oregano. This is presented as a real powerhouse, a go-to for when you're trying to fight something off.
So the source describes this stuff as being a potent antiviral and antibacterial. The whole idea is to use it as your first line of defense. The claim is that if you can catch a cold or flu right in what the speaker calls its incipient stage, that very beginning phase before you're full-blown sick, this oil can actually stop it in its tracks.
And how do you use it? Well, the method described is super straightforward. You just put 5 drops directly in your mouth, hold it there for 2 minutes, and then swallow. And if you're still feeling off, the suggestion is to repeat the process a couple of hours later.
Okay, moving on from a single ingredient, the source next introduces a pretty intense concoction. It's a blended drink that the speaker calls rocket fuel. And yeah, it's made from a whole bunch of powerful kitchen staples.
And just look at what goes into this stuff. We're talking 5 to 10 cloves of garlic, that's a lot, half an onion, raw honey, cayenne pepper, ginger, and the juice of 2 lemons. The idea here, according to the source, is that this specific combination is designed to give your immune system a serious kickstart.
Now, the instructions are just as intense as the ingredients. You throw everything into a blender with warm water to make a full quart. Then you blend it all up, and here's the kicker. You're supposed to drink the entire thing within 30 minutes. The emphasis is really on getting it all in, fresh and fast. All right, so we've covered things you drink or take internally. Now the source material pivots to things you apply on the outside of your body. We're going to get into external preparations like poultices and plasters for stuff like injuries, bug bites, and inflammation.
The first one up is something called a charcoal poultice. And the whole concept behind this one is that it's supposed to draw things out of the body.
So the idea is that this poultice literally pulls toxins out through your skin. And the list of purported uses is, well, it's pretty wild. It ranges from things like bee stings and boils all the way to claims about it being used for snake bites and even as an application for things like breast and lung cancer. The whole principle is based on this idea that activated charcoal is incredibly absorptive.
Making it sound surprisingly simple. The recipe is just a basic ratio. 1 part activated charcoal, 1 part psyllium husk powder, and then 6 parts water. You mix it all together, and according to the video, it creates this thick, gel-like paste that you can then spread on the skin.
Next up is another old-school application, the mustard plaster. And this one, we're told, works on a totally different principle from the charcoal poultice.
Yeah, so if the charcoal poultice is all about drawing things out, the mustard plaster is about bringing things in. The goal is to crank up the circulation and bring more blood flow to a specific area, which is thought to help with healing. It's presented mainly as something you'd use for lung congestion, like with pneumonia. But, and this is a big but,
The source gives a serious warning. This stuff can burn your skin, so you have to be careful, and it should absolutely not be used on kids under 2. Now, it's super important to understand that the source is really clear on this next point. These remedies, they're not magic bullets. Not at all. The argument is that they only really work if they're built on top of a solid foundation of actual health, and that foundation is all about your day-to-day diet and lifestyle. And to really drive home this point about food quality, the speaker cites what they describe as a study from the University of North Carolina. Now, the claim made is pretty fascinating, that original, heirloom seeds can pick up 100% of the nutrients available in the soil. But modern, hybrid seeds, they supposedly only grab about 40%. That's a huge difference if true.
So, this all leads to what the source calls the 8 laws of health, and these are presented as the real deal, the non-negotiables for a healthy life. You've got the things you'd expect: proper nutrition, exercise, water, sunshine, rest, and so on. In this whole philosophy, the kitchen remedies we've been talking about are just a support system. They're not the main event. This is the main event.
And this quote from the source video really wraps up the entire philosophy in a nutshell. It says, God did the healing, but God uses the kitchen medicine cabinet. It kind of perfectly captures the perspective that these natural things are the tools we're meant to use to help ourselves. So, that leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on, doesn't it? In our modern age, with all of its incredible medical advancements and pharmaceuticals, what place does this kind of traditional kitchen knowledge really have in our lives today? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for watching The Explainer.